A good Tavach, wonderful parents and children. Once again, the Rabbi Shalom has nachas from all of you that you came Motzei Shabbos when there's all kinds of other things potentially to do, and you chose to learn Torah, the Simcha, and you chose to be Chassidic, the Bais Medrash. The Rabbi Shalom will send you special bracha and simcha and hatzlacha b'limud and parnasa for your parents, and give you siyata d'shmaya that you should grow with Torah v'yira shamayim. Minig b'Chassidim is to say Sipuri tzadikim Motzei Shabbos. So I would like to tell you a story where we see how the Rabbi Shalom gives Ruach HaKodesh to tzaddikim, and we also see how people that have emunas chachamim, that they are zoicha to have special yeshuas in the source of the fact that they believe that tzaddikim are close to the Rabbi Shalom, and the word of a tzaddik is Kaddish. So the story is told from a Talmud from the Baal Shem HaKadosh whose name was Horowitz Kitzis. One of the famous, he was a mechaber of Sforim, a famous tzaddik who was a chassid of the Baal Shem HaKadosh, b'leiv u'v'nefesh. Anything the Baal Shem told him, he followed. And he was a very, very, very poor man. And he had a daughter that he had to marry. This is the Parsha of Shidduchim. Eliezer got the Shidduch for Yitzchak Avinu. So, the Rebbe told, he had a daughter, and although it's true nowadays, it was more true years and years ago, if you had a daughter that you had to marry, and you didn't have money, it was a very, very hard thing. Because people expected that although parents have to pay, but if you had a daughter, they expected you to pay a little more. And this Revolve Kitzis was a big tzaddik, and it was a big Talmud Chacham, but he was very poor. By the way, this is not such a rare combination, actually. So, Baal Shem once called him and said, Revolve, this is a mazel dik time for you to do a shidduch with your daughter. I think you should contact the shadchanim, the matchmakers, and say that you are ready to do a shidduch with your daughter. So he says, Rebbe, whatever you say, that's what I'll do. But there's no money. So the tzaddik says, don't worry about the money. Find out who's available. So they did some research, and they found out that in a neighboring city, there was a very, very fine family, Choshev Yidden, with a son who was a Talmud Chacham, and if they could find a Kala who would give 2,000 ruble for Naden, then they would be, and it would come also from a fine family, then they would be willing to do the shidduch. So that's how they used to do shidduchim. They did all the time through shachanim only. And this he came to Volk heard about this. He went back to the Baal Shem, and he told the Baal Shem, and the Baal Shem said, good, boy's a Talmud Chacham, he comes from a nice family, do the shidduch. So he says, Rebbe, whatever you say, that's what I'm going to do. But there's no money. Baal Shem says, don't worry about it. So Rebbe says, don't worry about it. So he doesn't worry about it. So he sends a shliach with the tanoim, and as was the custom, they made the shidduch from far away. And the minig is, children, that, and it's actually brought down by halachot, that there has to be presents that have to be exchanged between the chassan and the kala. And Reb Wolf had no presents to give the chassan. So the mechutin, the future in-laws, sent him a letter. It passed Hanukkah or Pesach or whatever the time was to give whatever you're supposed to give. And he didn't give it. So of course, the reason why both didn't do it because he didn't have any money, but the Rebbe told him it'll be fine. Finally, like, there was no response after such a long period of time, so Mechutin said, you know, you're not responding. If you don't respond, then I have to assume that you're not really interested in the shidduch. So, Revolve takes the letter to the Baal Shem, says, Rebbe, there's no money, what do I do? So the Baal Shem HaKadosh says, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, tell him to come 3 days before the wedding. You'll have all the money for the wedding. You'll have all the money for the nad and for the 2,000 ruble, and you'll have the matanis. So he says, Rebbe, we're talking about 4,000 ruble altogether. Rebbe says, don't worry about it. So Revolve said, I will not worry about it. And he didn't have much of a choice, really, because he had no money. So the period, it got closer and closer to and he's getting very uncomfortable, Revolve. I mean, the Rebbe said not to worry about it, but we're almost there and there's no money. So finally they came, they're coming tomorrow, they're coming the next day. They're coming the next day. The Revolve's Numa Chotanim. There's no, where is it going to come from? So he's going, with a heavy heart, he's going to the Baal Shem and says, what do I do now? On his way to the Baal Shem, he meets a Yid, very prosperous looking Yid, and Yid says, do you know that there is a tzaddik here in the town who's known as, he probably loses a piece of paper, he says, the Baal Shem Tov? So he says, yes, I happen to be going. He says, come with me. Fine. So they go together to the Baal Shem Tov. They walk into the Baal Shem, and the Baal Shem, the fellow doesn't have a word to say. Shalom Aleichem. The fellow does not have doesn't say a word to the Baal Shem, and the Baal Shem says, I have a story to tell you. This is how it works by Chassidim, gentlemen. Everything starts with a story. He says, even the week is starting with the story. So the Baal Shem says, I have a story for you. Once upon a time, says the Baal Shem, there was a wealthy merchant who stood to make a profit. He used to sell lumber. They used to transport lumber down rivers. That's how they used to do it. They used to cut the lumber someplace, and they used to transport it down the river, and then they would sell it. Since there was a very wealthy merchant that he was going to make 40,000 ruble on a business deal of selling lumber. And he was all happy and excited, and he was a fancy guy with a fancy, they didn't have fancy cars then, but they had fancy carriages. So he's traveling to do this business deal. He has his goy, that's his chauffeur, so to speak, his balagola, and he's driving, and this Yid is very comfortably sleeping in his carriage, and he doesn't notice that his balagola, his chauffeur, decides, while they're driving to this town, he makes a detour into a forest. A dark and lonely forest. The proverbial dark and lonely forest. And all of a sudden he wakes up, this Yid, and he sees his goy, his chauffeur, is standing over him with an axe. And he says, Yid, give me the money! So he says, I'll give you whatever you want. He takes the money out of his pocket, he gives it to him. He says, as long as I escape with my life. So he gives the money. He says, ha! You think I'm going to let you live? You're going to tell that I stole the money from you? Get prepared to die. Take him outside the carriage, ties him to the tree. He says, please, save me. No. That's it. You're gone. I give you a few minutes to say your last prayers. He begged, and he was crying, and he was saying, if you allow me to live, I promise that I'll immediately give a tenth of the money, 40,000 ruble, that's 4,000 ruble. I will give it to tzedakah, just Rabbi Shalom save me. At that moment, when he's saying this thing, he's tied to the tree, he's sure he's going to die. All of a sudden, the watchman of the forest comes out. They had a watchman in the forest, and he sees a guy that's tied to a tree. He sees somebody else standing with an axe. He says, you stop! Drop that axe or I'll shoot you. Drops the axe. They untie the guy. They immediately throw him into jail, and this Yid is saved. And this Yid is so happy. And he says, I'll pay you the 4,000 rubles as soon as I get home. But there's a whole bunch of things that happen until he gets home, and he totally forgets that he promised the 4,000 rubles. And he forgot, And the Baal Shem tells the story, they're waiting for these 4,000 ruble in Shemayim. When is he going to pay? And he totally forgot about it, and he only had 2 children, this Gevia, this very wealthy man, a son and a daughter, and I don't remember which. One of them died, got sick, and still he didn't remember, and then one of them died, and he still didn't remember, and he only has 1 child left, and that child is also sick, and this Gevir thinks he's going to find going to go to a good Yid, to a tzaddik, and asks that this good Yid should be mispalel for his child that's sick, when it's his fault. He didn't. It's the father's fault because he promised the tzedakah and he didn't give the money. So when this Gevir, at the beginning of the story, didn't know where the Rebbe was heading with all of this, but by the end of the story, he figures out that he's the guy. He's the person that the Baal Shem is talking about. He says, Rebbe, I came to be mispalel to you for my child. It's true, the whole story is true. I take out of my pocket 4,000 ruble. Who should I give it to? He says, give it to both. Because tomorrow he needs the money for the chasana. So this is the story Makubal from the Baal Shem HaKadosh. So we should know, holy children, that if you learn the Holy Torah, then you can also become a tzaddik. But until you get there, we have to be machshiv, the tzaddikim that we have, the people who learn Torah day and night and who care about Yiddish Kinderlach, whose word is chashiv upon the Rebbeinu Shalom. He loves his tzaddikim. And in the schus of the fact that you are here and you want to do the right thing and you do mitzvahs of ma'asim tovim, you will all be zoicha to all manner of goodness. Beruchni v'gashmi will be zoicha to Yeshuas for all of us and for Klal Yisrael.
First 2 prizes, please. The first prize is this nerf sock, and then the second prize is the
We're gonna have a website.
All right, 209.